Hi, welcome to Cell Biology for Humans. I'm Jeremy, and I wrote this book in the spring to help students understand biology better and easier to help prepare them for anatomy and physiology and the courses they have ahead of them. I want you to get the most out of it and learn as efficiently as you can. So this video is just a couple of tips for how to do that. First, and probably most importantly, is don't try to read lots at one time. Textbooks are very technical, and although I tried to minimize how technical this one is and really simplify it, you really shouldn't take on more than one section at a time. After that, take a break, come back to it. But don't just sit there and read for hour after hour. So let's talk about how to approach each section then. So each section starts in red, and underneath that is a short introduction as well as this green box, why this is important. Don't skip those. Your brain needs to know that this is important. It's significant. It means something to you. It sets the stage for the rest of the text. So give your brain that boost to let it know why you're making it read this. After that, then comes the foundations, followed by key terms, and then details. Now the foundations is basically the whole layout for that section is simply as I can put it, with as few technical terms as possible. I would make sure that you understand that, even if you need to read it a couple of times, before you move on to the rest of the details and the key terms. Make sure that you've set the stage understanding the key concepts, because I really think the ideas are very important. They give us a framework for starting to put in the details and the terminology. So make sure you set the stage with those. All right, so the key terms I think are pretty self-explanatory. The detail section is really the meat of that section. Each paragraph starts with a bold sentence that essentially summarizes it. One approach is to look through and read all those bold sentences to get kind of an overview of where that whole section is going. So that's one approach to it. Once you have that, then you start reading through the details section. And every so often, make sure you stop and think, really actually do that. All these little gold boxes here are a question. Have you ever driven down the road and you don't remember the last couple of blocks, maybe even a couple of miles, and you think, oh my goodness, what has happened? I do that all the time when I read a textbook. I'm 2 pages in and I think, I have no idea what I just read. So making yourself stop and think every once in a while is really important. And make sure your brain is still sort of listening to what you're putting into it and trying to connect the material to your experience. The answers are given at the end of each chapter, or at least guidance on them. So do engage with the book. Don't just passively, skim over words with your eyes. Really try to understand it as you go. You'll get a lot more out of it. Make sure that you pay attention to the diagrams, of course. Read the captions. Understand what they're trying to tell you. Biology books, and this one's no different, do communicate a lot through these diagrams. They're not just pretty pictures to fill up space. So many sections will also have this gray box with this little video screen. And so that is a video link, whether you're accessing it through the PDF or some sort of online version. I would really recommend that you do look at that video, and I'll talk more about those in actually a separate video. But when you get to the end of every section, then there's going to be these learning objectives. Look at those, study those. When I make up a test, I'm using those as my guide to say, this is what I want people to have learned. So it really focuses you in on the key concepts from that chapter. It may not test you on every single detail, but certainly the ones from those learning objectives. All right, so that's how you make it through each section. When you get to the end of the chapter, you'll find 3 common sections, X, Y, and Z. Section X is hair from a sandwich. This is kind of a funny question that I'll ask, and I'll explain more in class, but this is kind of a common theme that runs through the book, so you can see how what happens in cells applies to a larger, sort of everyday familiar thing like growing hair. Section Y then is building the framework. It really summarizes the chapter And oftentimes, like in this one, we'll have some blanks for you to fill in as well to make sure that you took home the major points from the entire chapter. And then finally, section Z is just the answers to those stop and think questions, or sometimes just guidance to what they are. All right. Well, that's really the summary of how to get the most out of this book, how to study efficiently, and hopefully really engage with the material and enjoy some success in your learning. Good luck to you.